And that's when I realized, Charlotte, that the perfect cup of coffee isn't just about the beans. It's about the ritual. The way the steam hits your face before the first sip.
You and your rituals, Alex. I bet you even have a specific way you stand in line while you wait.
Guilty as charged. But honestly, standing in that line is where the real magic happens. You hear the most interesting things. Like this morning, the person in front of me was trying to order something so complex, I think the barista needed a degree in chemistry to understand it.
Oh, I've been that person. Sometimes you just want something very specific to make the morning feel right.
Exactly, and that's what we're diving into today. Hi everyone, and welcome back to Love English Lab. I'm Alex.
And I'm Charlotte. We are so glad you're here with us today.
Today we're talking about something we all do, or at least I do every single morning, and that's navigating the world of coffee shops. Specifically, how to customize your order and handle that bit of small talk while you wait.
It's such a great topic because it's so practical. It's one of those real-life situations where a little bit of clarity goes a long way. So, Alex, you have to tell me. Take me back to this morning. What was it like when you walked into that shop?
Okay, so picture this. It's a bright morning in Austin. I'm walking down the street, coffee mug already in hand because I'm optimistic like that. I step into my favorite local spot. The air is thick with the smell of roasted beans and toasted cinnamon. It's my happy place.
I can almost smell it from here. Was it crowded?
It was. Well, not on the phone crowded, but there was a buzz. People on laptops, the sound of the milk steamer hissing in the background, that shh sound that lets you know a latte is being born.
A latte being born. You're so dramatic.
Hey, it's an art form. Anyway, I get in line behind this woman. She's looking at the menu like it's a puzzle she's trying to solve. And I'm just standing there, enjoying the atmosphere, when she turns around and asks me, "Is the oat milk here actually creamy?"
Oh, that's a classic opening for small talk. It's low pressure, but opens a door. What did you say?
I told her, in real life, it's the best in the city. I think that gave her the confidence she needed. But then it was her turn at the counter, and Charlotte, the customization began.
This is where it gets interesting. Once you notice the patterns in how people order, it actually makes sense. It's not just a list of words, it's a logic.
Right. She started with the basics, but then she added the modifiers. You know, the extra hot, the half sweet, the splash of this or that.
It's funny because I'm usually the opposite. I like to keep it simple. But I do appreciate the bravery of someone who knows exactly what they want. Did she seem nervous?
A little bit. She kept saying, and maybe. But the barista was great. He just slowed down and asked, "Would you like that iced or hot?"
That's the key. One question at a time. It's much simpler than it looks when you break it down like that.
Exactly. But then she got to the part that always trips people up, the size names. Why can't a large just be a large, Charlotte?
Ah, the great mystery of modern coffee culture. But honestly, if you just say large, they always know what you mean. Clarity over perfection, right?
That's what I always say. This is what actually works. Just say what you need. Anyway, after she finished, it was my turn. And I realized I wanted to try something new today, too.
You? Mr. Routine? What did you do?
I decided to go for a dirty chai with an extra shot of espresso. I needed that extra momentum for our recording today.
Well, it's definitely working. I can feel the energy. But wait, did you have to do the small talk with the barista, too?
Oh, for sure. He saw my Love English Lab mug and asked if I was a teacher.
That's lovely. It's those small connections that make a neighborhood feel like home.
It really does. But then, while I was waiting for my drink, I noticed something else. A guy at the pickup counter was having a bit of a moment because they forgot his vanilla syrup.
Oh no. Was he angry?
Not angry, just frustrated. He didn't want to be a bother, but he really wanted that sweetness. It was a perfect example of how to politely correct an order.
That's such an important skill. Knowing how to say, "Excuse me, I think this was supposed to be," without feeling like you're being difficult.
Exactly. I watched him do it, and it was a masterclass in being direct but supportive.
So, how did he handle it? Did he just walk up and interrupt?
No, he waited for a brief pause in the barista's movement. You know, that second after they set a cup down but before they grab the next one. He just leaned in a bit and said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I think I asked for vanilla in this one. Could we add a pump of that?"
Could we add a pump? I love that. It's so collaborative. It's not, "You forgot my syrup." It's, "Could we fix this together?"
Right. It makes a huge difference in the vibe. The barista smiled, said, "Oh, my bad," and fixed it in 5 seconds. No stress, no drama, just clear communication.
This is simpler than it looks. It's really just about being human. I think sometimes we get so worried about the right words that we forget the person behind the counter is just a person.
Definitely. I've seen people get so nervous they just take the wrong drink and walk away. I once saw a guy drink a black coffee when I knew he'd ordered a caramel macchiato just because he didn't want to speak up.
Oh, that's heartbreaking. A bitter coffee when you wanted a dessert in a cup? That's a tragedy, Alex.
It really is. But that's why I always tell my students, confidence comes from use. Even if you stumble over the words, the goal is to get the coffee you actually want to drink.
Exactly. Understanding changes everything. Once you realize the barista actually wants you to enjoy your drink, the fear disappears.
So true. So after I got my dirty chai, which, by the way, was delicious, I went over to the little station where they have the napkins and the stir sticks. You know the area.
The condiment station, where the real small talk happens while everyone is trying to reach for the lids at the same time.
Yes, it's like a choreographed dance, but nobody knows the steps. I was reaching for a lid, and this older gentleman was reaching for the cinnamon at the same time. We did that little, "No, you go ahead" dance for a second.
I love those moments. They're so brief, but they're so Australian? No, wait. Just friendly.
Very friendly. He looked at my drink and said, "That looks like it's got a kick to it."
He wasn't wrong.
Not at all. I told him, "It's been a long morning already." And he just nodded and said, "I hear you. My grandkid kept me up since 5 a.m. I need this caffeine more than I need air."
That is so relatable. Did you keep talking or just leave it there?
Just a little more. I asked him if he lived nearby, and he told me he was just visiting for the weekend. We talked for maybe 30 seconds about the best parks in the area. It was just a nice, grounded moment before I headed back to my apartment to work.
See, that's what I love about your style, Alex. You find the real life in everything. You didn't need a long conversation, just a few simple, direct sentences to connect with someone.
Here's the key point. Small talk isn't about sharing your life story. It's just about acknowledging the person next to you. It's like background music. It makes the atmosphere feel better.
That's a great analogy. It's like the soft, instrumental music I play when I'm organizing my lesson structures. It's not the main focus, but it provides a sense of warmth and flow.
Exactly. But tell me, Charlotte, what's your coffee shop personality? Are you the person who hides in the corner with headphones, or do you engage?
Well, usually I'm the person with the headphones. I love the natural light in coffee shops. It helps me focus, but I tend to use them as a "please don't disturb me" sign.
I knew it! The academic in her natural habitat, surrounded by books and silence.
Not silence. I love the documentary-style atmosphere of a busy cafe. But I do find that if I'm not careful, I get stuck in my own head.
So how do you handle the actual ordering part? Do you have a go-to customization?
Actually, I do. I'm quite picky about the temperature. I don't like it when the tea is so hot it burns your tongue for 3 days. So I always ask for a splash of cold milk, or for them to leave a bit of room at the top.
Leave room at the top. That's a great phrase. It's functional and clear.
It is. And it saves me from spilling it while I'm walking to find a table. Because I am notoriously clumsy when I'm thinking about language patterns.
I can see that. Charlotte Miller, lost in thought, covered in Earl Grey.
It's happened more than once, I admit it. But here's what's really happening when I order. I'm looking for that aha moment of connection with the barista. Even if it's just a smile when I say thank you.
That's the human warmth you always talk about. It's not just a transaction, it's an interaction.
Exactly. And I think for people learning English, the coffee shop is the perfect lab. It's a controlled environment. The vocabulary is limited, the steps are predictable, and you can practice the same 3 phrases every day until they feel like second nature.
This works in real life. I love that. You can literally go to 5 different shops and say the exact same thing. By the 5th one, you're a pro.
Right. And you can start to notice the micro expressions of the baristas. You can tell when they're rushed, so you keep your order simple. Or when they're bored and happy to chat about the weather.
That's a great point. Reading the room. If the line is out the door, maybe don't ask for the history of the coffee bean. Just get your drink and keep it moving.
Keep it simple. That's your signature phrase for a reason. But let's talk about the customization vocabulary for a second, because it can be overwhelming. There's skim, whole, oat, soy, almond.
Don't forget cashew and pistachio milk now. It's getting out of hand.
Really? Pistachio milk? That sounds expensive.
It is, and it's green. It looks like you're drinking a melted forest.
Well, green or not, the logic is the same. I'll have a drink with type of milk. It's a formula. Once you see the pattern, it clicks.
And then you add the pacing tags, as I like to call them. Extra, light, no, double.
Light ice is my favorite one for summer. I don't want my drink to be 90% frozen water.
Light ice is a game changer. In real life, people say this all the time. If you don't say it, you're basically paying $5 for a cup of ice with a hint of coffee.
So true. But Alex, have you ever had a situation where the small talk went wrong? Or just got a bit awkward?
Oh, plenty of times. There was one time I tried to be playfully sarcastic with a barista I didn't know.
Oh no. What did you say?
He asked if I wanted room for cream, and I said no. I like my coffee as dark as my soul.
Alex!
I thought it was funny, but he just stared at me, total deadpan, for about 5 seconds. Then he just pushed the cup toward me and said, "That'll be $4.50.
Oh, that is painful. See, that's a case where professionally would have been a better choice than mischievous.
Lesson learned. Don't try out your stand-up comedy routine until you've had your first sip of caffeine.
It's okay. We've all had those moments where the dialogue flow just stops. The important thing is to keep going. Confidence comes from use, even the awkward use.
You know, it's interesting. When I'm in Austin, the small talk is very energetic and direct. But when I visited you in Boston, or even when I've been in London, the vibe is different.
It really is. In Boston, people are very matter-of-fact. We value efficiency. The small talk is often about the weather or the traffic, things that are real-world problems we all share.
Reception is improving on that idea. It's about finding common ground. In London, I noticed people are a bit more reserved until you break the ice.
Reserved is a good word. But once you notice the British accent flow, it's quite rhythmic. Lots of cheers, thanks mate, and sorry.
So many sorries. I once saw 2 people bump into each other in a London coffee shop, and they both apologized about 5 times. It was like a competition of politeness.
I think I'd fit in well there. I'm a chronic apologizer.
I'm so sorry, but could I possibly, if it's not too much trouble, have a napkin?
Stop it. It's just being polite. But you're right. The vocal delivery changes based on where you are.
It does, but the core is the same. Clarity. Whether you're using a southern U.S. accent like back home or a New York accent where everything is rapid fire, if you're clear about your order, you'll be fine.
Clarity makes you confident. I really believe that. When you know the words for what you want, you don't have to worry about how you sound.
Exactly. So let's talk about the after part. You've got your drink, you've made your small talk, you've navigated the condiment station. Now you have to find a seat.
This is the most stressful part for me, especially in a crowded restaurant or a busy cafe.
The scanning the room phase. I usually look for the person who is closing their laptop or putting on their coat. That's my narrator voice telling me a seat is about to open up.
You're like a hawk. I usually just look for the brightest spot near a window. I need that natural light to think.
And what if someone is sitting at a large table with an extra chair? Do you ask to join them?
Only if I'm feeling particularly brave. I'll walk up and say, "Excuse me, is anyone using this chair?" Or, "Mind if I sit here?"
Those are perfect! Simple, direct, and polite. Most people just nod and say, "Go for it."
And then you're in. You've successfully navigated the whole experience.
And that's what it's all about. Taking these real-life situations and breaking them down until they aren't scary anymore.
I love that we did this today. It feels like we've taken something complex and made it feel friendly and accessible.
It's funny how a simple cup of coffee can lead to so much conversation. But then again, that's what we do here at Love English Lab, isn't it? We find the story in the everyday.
We certainly do. Well, I think we should head back to our listeners for a moment.
You're right. So everyone, we hope you enjoyed our little trip to the coffee shop today.
We talked about quite a bit. We looked at how to customize your order using specific modifiers like extra hot or light ice.
And we talked about the importance of simple, direct small talk. Whether it's asking about oat milk or just acknowledging the person next to you in line.
Remember, understanding changes everything. When you know the logic behind the interaction, the fear of making a mistake just melts away.
Exactly. Confidence comes from use. So the next time you're in a coffee shop, I want you to try one new phrase. Maybe ask for a splash of milk, or tell the barista, "Have a good one."
We would love to hear about your coffee shop experiences. What is your go-to order? Or have you ever had a funny moment of small talk while waiting for your drink?
And let us know if you've ever tried pistachio milk. I'm still not convinced it's a real thing.
Oh, Alex. If you found this conversation helpful, please consider subscribing to Love English Lab.
Yes, please do. Subscribing really helps our channel grow and allows us to keep creating this kind of immersive, practical content for all of you.
It means the world to us to have you as part of our community.
We'll be back soon with more real-life conversations. Until then, keep it simple, keep it real,
And keep listening.
see you next time on Love English Lab.
Bye, everyone.